don't get too excited. Okay, good morning, everyone. Anna, just for protocol, maybe just kick the meeting off, call to order.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to kick off this meeting of the Economic Development Committee. And so with that, I'm going to pass it over to Eric.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, if everyone could take a look at the November minutes, it seems like many moons ago, and it was. But if you have not taken a look at the minutes, give it a quick look over, and then I'll just ask for a motion to approve or amendments, and then obviously a second. So if there are no amendments or corrections, is there a motion to accept the minutes as submitted?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you, Mark.
And I'll second that.
That's Jen.
That's Kate. Sorry,
Okay,
I have a
sorry.
cold. So I'm not on camera.
Okay, not a problem, Kate. Well, I hope you feel better. Sorry, I just said, if you've ever been in this room, I'm just getting like the voice of God, many gods. So I'm in a polytheistic meeting right now. I'm hearing lots of different voices. So anyway, thank you for that. As you all know, the board is, the EDC is sunsetting in about 3 months, and we're going to be moving into what is known as the currently named the, I need to take a deep breath here, Community Sustainability and Economic Development Advisory Board. I'm just going to be for my own oxygen intake, just calling it Resiliency Board during the rest of the meeting. There may be a change, may not be in terms of the name, but if you look at the comp plan, it's under basically all the stuff that we do and have been doing for many years is nested under resiliency. So I'm just going to call it resiliency for expediency's sake. So I wanted to kick off, for the next 3 meetings, taking a look at the comprehensive plan and the recommendations, and it has been approved by the commission. Thank you, commission. So that we have our North Star document. So I'm focusing on the resiliency chapter in that. Obviously, there's going to be cross-pollination of ideas. There's going to be that cross-pollination over the next decade. But for the sake of clarity and expediency, right now I'm looking just at that particular chapter. Hopefully everybody's had an opportunity to take a look at it. I'm sure none of us are masters of it all yet. We will be. But I created a document that unfortunately I was going to share with you, but I have a new Surface. It's not up to speed yet, so I can't share, unfortunately, the document I made, but I'll verbally try to go through it. But basically what I created is a placemat looking at the resiliency, upcoming resiliency board, and breaking it down into, if you look at the chapter, there are 4 what I'll call subsections: local ecology, sustainable practices, land use and development, and then finally business districts. Under each one of those headings, it's broken down further, and then in some cases even more. It gets into somewhat, I don't want to say granular level, but it does break down particular line items. Some go deeper than others, but there's a lot of detail in the chapter. So the way it seems that this is going to be breaking down from a staff perspective is we're going to be tag teaming this resiliency board. I'll be on it as well as Greg Wharton, who was hired to be our sustainability coordinator and assistant planner. So the way it seems to be breaking out is, Greg is going to be handling more of the sustainability side of this advisory board, and I'll continue on in my role as the economic development officer, focusing on economic development and where there are synergies and overlap and projects and initiatives that make sense. I'll be involved in sustainability issues and he'll be involved in what I'll call economic development issues. So just for the sake of focus, I've highlighted what I'll call chapters 3 and 4, or subsections 3 and 4, land use and development and business districts. And the land use and development, there were 2 sections under that. One is redevelopment of the South Garage to address community needs. And then the second is undertake an update to zoning and subdivision and land use ordinances. So I'd like to talk about that. And then the other one is business districts. And under that, there's a number of subsections. And I'll just quickly list those out. Placemaking, redevelopment at underused uptown parcels, Parsway, Beverly Road, strengthening C2 districts, so that would be your Cochrane Road, the Galleria area, so that little node down there by the Galleria and Fresh Market. Castle Shannon Boulevard, looking at ways to strengthen that business district. And then finally, events organized with partners, and a good example of that would be various things that we do with the Mount Lebanon Partnership. So dialing back up to land use and development, those 2 focus areas. As many of you probably know, the South Garage is getting very close to its useful life has expired essentially. So lots of issues. We've all been in the South Garage. You can see with your own eyes kind of what's happening there. There is going to be a series of what I'll call Band-Aids put on the building to ensure its safety moving forward. But, you know, it's clear that that building will be coming down and needs to be redeveloped. So staff and the commission are currently plotting that out, strategizing that. This is for your edification, you know. So what's going to be happening is that Keith is currently working with the commission to have a standalone meeting with the commission before we go out for an RFP on what could be at that site. The commission wants to get an understanding, and any of the commissioners on the call, please interject, but I'm just trying to paraphrase, but you know, the commission, before we issue a request for proposals for a consultant or an engineering or architectural firm, any of that, the commission wants to be sure that their priorities they're all on the same page. That they thoroughly vet what the possibilities are, what they would like to see out of the project, and do that through a moderated session, more than likely some Saturday in the near future. You think I captured that okay, Commissioner Stiegler, Flynn?
Yes.
Okay. So.
Wait,
Agreed.
Anna has her hand raised.
Oh, go ahead, Anna.
So thank you for sending over the resiliency chapter. I actually did review it pretty thoroughly, and just a couple of comments. Again, I know that it's approved, but I just wanted to note that we talk a lot about the importance of sidewalks and that sidewalks are covered in the mobility chapter. But at the same time, there is no mention of the importance of the connectivity of the sidewalk network. And so I just want that to be in the record, that it's actually not appropriately covered in resilience. And the other thing I'd like to say is that the areas of focus that you've just mentioned really are specific to economic development and not as reflective of a focus on resiliency overall. So those are important rebuilding projects for deferred maintenance. But I just wanted to make the note that I wouldn't necessarily consider those projects that you've mentioned as the highest priority for a committee to be called resilience. So I do think that you should actually use the longer title, unfortunately, because I think that it more closely reflects what you've just outlined as your priorities for the next couple of years. And apologies, I'm going to be in transit after this comment, so I'll be listening in but not able to talk.
Thank you, Ann, and I made those notes, I think, but just to follow up on the connectivity issue with sidewalks, I think a lot of that will be addressed in the active transportation plan that'll be taking place this year. So I think, the big thrust of that active transportation plan is, again, it's holistically looking at the mobility routes, sidewalk and other, through the municipality, and I think can be addressed in that. And just to the second point, you're correct. I'm the economic development officer. I'm not the sustainability person. While I have a lot of proclivities towards that, and serve in a lot of volunteer efforts and things like that, for my day job, what I focus on is economic development. This is the Economic Development Council, so I want to just be sure that we're providing a balance. We're providing some recommendations, because the Environmental Sustainability Board, or the current iteration of that, is going to be sending some recommendations over on some of these issues that are more on the community sustainability side. So again, like local ecology, sustainability practices, that's candidly out of my wheelhouse in my day job. I'm here to serve as the Economic Development Officer. So I just want to make sure the Economic Development Council is somebody's focusing on that, and that this would be the body to do it. And that's why I'm kind of focusing on those issues.
So Eric, will the person who's in charge of sustainability actually begin attending the sessions that we have with whatever the new committee looks like when it starts in April?
Greg would be he'll be attending the new board meetings, yes.
Thank you for comments.
Absolutely. So the redevelopment of the South Garage, that's going to be a somewhat lengthy process. It's not going to have, we're not going to be tearing any structure down this year nor next year, it appears. I'm pretty confident of that. We're looking at anywhere from 2 to 5 years before we're in a position potentially to activate a project. This is going to be a very complex, thoroughly vetted project. There's a lot of moving parts. I mean, clearly the parking garage is of great import to the businesses and residents that live up here. It serves as parking for residential high rises as well as some homeowners. And then of course it serves as a commercial district parking garage. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here and a lot to consider. So I know from a staff perspective, I'm pleased and happy to hear that the commission is taking is so vested. It's clear that there's an understanding of how important this is, not just in terms of the impact of a construction project, but more importantly, long-term benefit back to the community. So what this project can be as a mixed use type structure. So the immediate next step is there's going to be this session so that the commission can again find that consensus to educate the request for proposals that go out. And so we're all working from the same playbook. So that should be, again, happening fairly shortly. I know that we don't have a date yet. I mean, this just really kind of was fleshed out at the last discussion session just this week. So more to come on that. But as we're thinking about a set of recommendations or a set of thoughts that we would like the next iteration to be considering, just keep that in mind, and I'll do my best to keep everyone apprised as to what fleshes out from said session. But this is really going to be, I'm going to say it, I think it's going to be the most impactful project uptown probably in the next decade. There could be some others that crop up in the private sector, but in terms of what the municipality is involved with, I can't think of a bigger project. It can be very catalytic. It's a real opportunity. So I'm excited to get to work on that, and I know this group is interested, and I know whomever is going to be on the next group will also be very interested. So that's gonna be an important area of focus. The update to zoning and subdivision and land use ordinances, that is on the radar. There's a lot of interest to try to move that. Right now, what staff, and when I say staff, our planner is proposing is to tackle that in 2025, not this year, for various reasons. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, before I continue, Seth, I'm sorry, I see your hands raised.
You can finish. This was kind of just going to be generally about what you're about to speak about. So yeah,
Oh, okay, great, okay, then I'll make this very quick. So basically, we're looking at 2025. And, you know, there's reasons for that. I mean, you know, I don't want to get into capacity issues, but it's a capacity issue. You know, we have limited staff and we have a lot of plans that are going to be kicking off this year, active transportation being one of them. So, you know, being mindful of capacity and being sure that these very important plans and the analysis that goes into that and what have you, each get their proper attention. That's the current timeline. So we're looking really to embark on that in 2025. With that being said, this group's thoughts and concerns on that matter can certainly be brought forward in the, I'm calling it the little letter you put in the president's desk when the president's when there's a transfer of presidential power. So when that memo is sent to the next board, we can definitely share our thoughts on that. Seth?
yeah. On the zoning front, I don't know where my final board landing place will be, but you know, the South Garage I think is important. I was a little concerned with the lack of human scale in some of those scenarios, but I know there's also metrics to make this work from a budget standpoint. But the baseline of zoning and code, I think, is really critical because that can set some framework for South Garage from a public informed process. And I just wanted to highlight, if folks haven't reviewed the AARP Livability Index, where Mount Lebanon is in the bottom third of communities. One of those is zero-step entrances, and zero-step entrances is an ADA issue, an aging in place, an aging in community issue, a variety of issues, people with disabilities. So we are in the bottom third of communities there. We are also in the bottom third for housing costs, the bottom third for housing cost burden. So a lot of people are spending a significant amount of their percentage of their income on housing. And that's a really important framework for zoning. But also I want to recommend the AARP's larger document, which is a handbook for improved neighborhoods. And they did this together with the Congress of New Urbanism. It has some really great baseline recommendations about the code, the zoning. And the AARP is a leader and progressive leader in zoning for making communities for all ages and aging in community, especially in Southwestern PA, where we have some of the highest demographic mix of an older population and an aging population, creating spaces for those folks to stay in community rather than being pushed and jettisoned to the edges, but staying where they live. And that's from accessory dwelling units or those that people know as granny flats, or there's a variety. There's some that probably illegally exist in Mount Lebanon, and I think that's a good thing. We've built them before. They existed post-World War II, but it's a really simple way to add what I think the comprehensive plan called as gentle density, but density that doesn't impact the human scale of neighborhoods.
Sorry, Seth, just so I have it clear in my minutes, handbook for improved neighborhoods, AARP.
Yep, a handbook for improved neighborhoods, and that was with AARP and the Congress of New Urbanism.
Right on. And then and prior to that, you mentioned the AARP survey. I just want to make sure I have the.
Yeah, no, I can send you I think they're small enough I can email the files to you, Eric, but the AARP Livability Index.
Livability Index, but okay. Yeah, please do, because I'm gonna have a package, so I'll include that in the package.
But yeah, I think it's
Eric,
an important framework. So yeah.
Eric, this is Andrew. As a point of just another item to add, Connect yesterday had a presentation on the Fair Housing Act and working to ensure your ordinances are properly aligned. I think it's probably worth, throwing that into the mix as well.
Fair Housing Act.
Yeah, and apparently there's a lot of money flowing out to support, municipalities reviewing their ordinances. So, hey, if we can get a little extra money to do that kind of work, that would be helpful.
Great, so even if we don't actually do the project 25, we can be applying for dollars in 24 to fund 25. That's what I'm reducing that to. Okay, great. Any other thoughts? I know, Anna, you're driving, but anyone else, if you have other thoughts, as you know, and Mark's been excellent at this, is emailing me, ideas and thoughts. I mean, obviously, you can have an idea 2 days from now or a thought, or as you're reviewing things, keep sending me emails, and that type of thing as well. So, I mean, it's not as if the only thing I listen to from you guys is, between 7:30 and 9 o'clock on the last Friday of each month. So, don't hesitate to do that. I just wanted to throw that out there. So that's kind of the summary of those two pieces. Any other questions about that or inputs? And again, this is an ongoing conversation. We have 2 more meetings after this, so. Okay. So that's number 3.
Eric, one last thing on that front is,
Yeah.
I know it's critical to wait for a holistic process to some level for zoning, but there's many things that I think both of these, the AARP document recommends that commission could do right now, with subtle tweaks. But I don't want to call it a fight, but there's a discussion that probably happens, and maybe keeping that in one discussion rather than extending it out. But I think there's things that could happen right now on Mount Lebanon that could really help on this front. So
Okay.
that's my final soapbox for
Okay,
now.
great. Well, of course, if you want to take that further in an email or something like what, if you want to tease that out a little bit, if you want, then that, we can put that into the library, if you will. Or action steps or recommended action steps, what have you. Okay, great. Moving on to the next chapter under this section is business districts. In terms of placemaking, what I'll say to this currently is, we're going to be embarking on a second phase of planning with Patrick Associates, focused on the uptown area, but a lot of it is going to be under the umbrella of placemaking. There are going to be some capital improvement recommendations out of this process, but we're going to be, and everybody's invited to that. We're going to be having a series of, we'll have a couple of public meetings on it. It's going to be the lead committee for this is going to be the partnership design committee with staff. But there's going to be clearly a public engagement component to that. We're looking to kick that off soon. I'm currently working on a scope of services. I'll be working with the principal at Patrick on coming up with a draft scope of services that we'll present to the commission and for the edification of the commissioners on the call. We're looking to hit probably the first discussion session in March. For various reasons, we have a couple of the key people from Patrick that are out of pocket right now, but so you can, we're looking at the first commission discussion session in March to discuss that draft with the commission and seeing how that goes. Then we'll enter into contract. So if things move smoothly, I would expect we'll be kicking off, and I'm calling it Activate Uptown. Used to be called Vibrant Uptown Phase 2. As you all know, I'm not using that moniker anymore. So, I'm calling it Activate Uptown. If somebody has another suggestion before we put something in print, let me know. But what we're going to be looking at again, just for this one particular piece, is Parsway. And Seth, I need, offline, I want to continue that conversation because I definitely want I need Port Authority in the mix. So I need to find the right person, if not you. Clearview Common, taking a look at that, taking a look at the Alfred lot. We're really looking at various nodes in the district that we can make improvements to activate them. So again, Parsway, taking a look at Clearview Common and tweaking that. The Alfred lot, Clock Tower Plaza. But we're really looking at the totality of the district, but there are gonna be some key focus areas that we have site control over. So that'll be focused on Uptown and will be a thorough planning process. But this obviously in the comp plan is much bigger than that. I think this Activate Uptown planning process, which should take, I'm thinking, it'll take a number of months. Will help set the table for Uptown, but we want to be mindful that we have other districts too and opportunities on Beverly and Castle Shannon and potentially other places. So if you're not familiar with placemaking, I'm not trying to be glib, but look it up. It's a planning term for activating space, but it's an all-encompassing term. There's lots of facets to it. It's everything from events to hardscape improvements, sunshades, street trees. I mean, I could go on, but there's a lot to it. It really is what makes a place unique and special. So that found its way into the comp plan. Another one is redevelopment of underused Uptown parcels, and this is specific to Uptown. I think we all know what they are. So that'll go hand in glove with I think zoning and land use updates and things of that nature. So that's where you're going to see a lot of cross-pollination and a lot of these concepts partnering with each other to make sure that we're doing things comprehensively, hence the name comprehensive plan. But so that's one. I'm not going to say a whole lot about that, but I clearly see a marriage there between what's under land use and development, the updates to zoning. Parsway, that's been a nut that we've wanted to crack. I've been here 15 years for longer than that. We recognize the great asset and potential it could be, but there's some things that need to be done. Clearly it has challenges. Everything from the condition of the hardscape to the dumpsters, various things. If you go back there, you'll figure it out real quick. So it's a tough nut, and we're going to start trying to crack that this year in a real focused, strategic way for finally. It's going to get the attention I think it deserves. So that's in the comp plan and something that we want to spend some good time on, because it's really a phenomenal opportunity to increase the connectivity between the light rail station. We all know what an asset that is in our central business district, but also back to placemaking really can be a staging area for additional events. So that we're not, say, taking the Academy lot, or we maybe want to expand the farmer's market down into Parsway. Now people would, tilt their head when you say something like that. But with appropriate improvements, it really can be a phenomenal staging area and really much needed area for programming for our downtown. Beverly Road. Beverly Road is sort of always taken care of itself. It's always had 100% occupancy. And essentially it still does have 100% occupancy. Plans are underway for Bados, and there are discussions underway at the West Banco. But Beverly has its own set of opportunities and challenges. If you talk to many of the business owners over there, they will talk to you about parking. So that's a whole other discussion we can get into. But so there's a perception that there's a significant parking problem there that is detrimental to the district as it continues to thrive. So we're going to have to spend some time discussing that and working through that with some of the stakeholders over there. But there's other opportunities as well. Again, back to placemaking. There are some opportunities over there. And again, if you look at the comp plan, there are some recommendations there. I'm just looking at the main bullet points here. I'm not getting into the weeds and everything that the comp plan recommends at this particular juncture. But there's a lot of Beverly Road that we can address and discuss moving forward. So if there's any ideas on that. Strengthening the C2 district. again, that's Cochrane, what I call the Galleria zone. You know, this is my staff opinion. I don't think there's anything wrong. I think every community, it's not a bad thing to have auto-centric serving commercial districts in appropriate places. I mean, there's a place in any community for a Jiffy Lube. I don't find it to be the most stimulating or exciting thing, but it's a need-based use in some cases. But with that being said, just because it's a automobile-centric type district doesn't mean that it has to feel like one. So Cochrane Road has come up time and time again from various residents and commissioners over the years about, you know, can we somehow smooth it over? Is the way I'm gonna express it, you know, enhance. You know, some of that I think comes down to code enforcement, a lot of the sidewalk over there. I've asked our code enforcement to get on some of these folks. We have the decrepit sidewalk over there. I mean, if you walk on Cochrane, you'll see it. You know, a lot of the infrastructure of their sidewalks in particular are in deplorable shape. As well as just retaining wall structures, various things. So those are some, to me, low-hanging fruit items that we can start to chip away at. But there are other opportunities. So moving forward in the next 10 years, looking at that corridor as well as the corridor down by the Galleria, you know, finding ways to, as Anna referenced, you know, how do we, you know, we want connectivity, not just with cars, but with pedestrians, cyclists, and all the others, ADA challenges. Look, you know, we're gonna be spending the next 10 years looking on ways to smooth over the problems that have organically grown over the last 50 or so years. So it's not gonna happen overnight. We got 10 years to get a good start on it. And then also zoning, looking at how we're looking at the zoning, clearly will have some impacts and influence on what happens in that particular district. Castle Shannon Boulevard also comes up a lot. I mean, I'm just gonna speak as somebody that's been doing this for over 2 decades. I mean, you know, as anybody that knows Castle Shannon Boulevard's business district, I mean, it's very difficult for me to even call it that. It's severely fractured. You know, you have 2 barbells of commercial, 2 dumbbells, you know, at the Caliente La Tida corner, and then the Hitchhiker area with housing in, you know, in the midst of that. So, you know, that's gonna require some discussion and vetting, and again, zoning goes back to zoning again, you know, what does the community want to see that corridor be in the future? As it stands right now, it's really difficult to get a Castle Shannon business association or anything. I mean, you really have a handful, maybe a dozen businesses at best. I'm being very generous there. You know, you don't really have a critical mass. It's not a Beverly Road, and it's certainly not Uptown. But I live there, so it's a very special place to me. I frequent many of the businesses there. So I get the importance of it. But the comp plan is asking that we take a fresh look at it. And I don't think personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But again, this is where this is going to be laced with, again, a zoning update, in my opinion. And then finally, events. I'm not going to say much about that. I'm not a party planner. We do events. They're important. And we have a great group, the Mount Lebanon Partnership and others that do those. The municipality has a few of its own. We'll continue to do events, and they're going to be awesome, and lots of people will come up and have a good time. So with that all being said, are there any initial thoughts or anything? I mean, I ran through that. There's a lot to unpack. I get it. But anything out of all of that that made somebody's eyebrow raise, or, you know, just a comment or anything like that? If not, that's fine. Okay, hearing none. If you have any, again, suggestions, emails are fine. Call me. We can have a discussion. Always happy to meet for coffee or lunch, or dinner, or whatever.
Eric, I had one point that I just wanted to say about all those commercial districts you outlined.
Yeah.
I think all but Beverly are state and that shouldn't scare people because we have a complete streets policy in place now. and the analysis through the focus group focused around mobility was that all of them have a low average daily traffic volume. You know, that people may not think that there's some peak times, but it has a low traffic volume across the day, which means the right of way can be changed most likely, or it meets the thresholds for change on those right of ways. I'm thinking of Gilkison specifically, in the width of that road or street or strode, as some may call it, and even parts of Cochrane. They are not hospitable places for people outside a vehicle, but they could be, or they could be changed to do so. So we shouldn't limit ourselves when we're thinking about any of those commercial districts. So
I agree. And again, I think that's where, you know, I'm kind of glad that we may be focusing on the active transportation plan prior to a deep dive into zoning. Because I think if we're being serious about the connectivity issue and the true notion of active transportation, I don't know how you can really do the zoning that we may aspire to without having the best understanding possible of how human beings get from point A to point B. And when they get there, what they want to do. I mean, so the active transportation plan, I think, is going to be important to just to that type, for that discussion to be pulled out, looked at, discussed, vetted, studied, and I suppose consecrated into a document that we can take action on.
yeah, I think in a perfect world, right, we would have the staff capacity, we'd have all the money to do them all at once. But I think they do set themselves up to build on each other. And if you've got that framework of the active transportation plan and the desire for change or adjustments to certain areas, then you just build the zoning on top of that and just start stacking these plans, starting with the comp plan, obviously. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think you're right.
Yeah, the comp plan is really the catalytic. I mean, it's the spark, you know, and now we're gonna, you know, bellow the flames, you know, with these various other these studies and plans that all lead to the actualization of what the intent of the comp plan, if that makes sense. So you know, I don't really, I mean, I know there are some folks that are really chomping at the bit to get to the zoning, and I understand it. I've been waiting for a long time for certain things to change. And I can't wait for that, hopefully. But, you know, it's clear, I mean, one of the things that came out of the comp plan, I think it's the number one thing that folks were talking about was walkability. And, you know, that came up time and time again. So, and not just walkability, but, you know, but for brevity's sake, that. So an active transportation plan then, to me, makes sense to look at that. So if you can't understand how the vascular system works of the organism, you know, then, you know, the important organs may not get the appropriate nourishment they need, if you're following where I'm going with that. So I think it's fine. I think an active transportation plan is going to really educate us all on how we want to be moving and how we need to be moving in the next decade. So so I made that note about the complete streets policy. That is an important one. And also so I'll just leave it at that. I don't want to keep rambling on. Any other thoughts? Cool. All right. Well, I think this is a good kickoff. I'm going to summarize all this. It'll be in the minutes, but I'll probably pull this out as a standalone document. This thing that I've been reading off of, and I'm sorry that I can't share my screen if my Surface was working. I was going to do that, but it's not. Anyway, I'll share this. It's a placemat. It's not a deep document. It's one page. It basically just takes everything and just makes it super simple. But it's a starting point for me, because I could be a simpleton. I need stuff really reduced to its raw elements and then kind of build off of that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. So what we're discussing today will be in the minutes, consecrated in that manner. But I'm also trying to build, like I say, this package that a gift, if you will, our present to the Community Sustainability and Economic Development Advisory Board. All right, cool. Any final thoughts before we move on the agenda? Great. All right, thanks, guys. Really great comments. I know there's more to come. I'm just gonna move on in the agenda. In terms of mobility, I've already talked, I mean, we're gonna be developing an active transportation RFP. I taught Ian is the lead on getting that RFP out. And he has to get the South Garage RFP sorted and a few other things, but he's already starting to kind of work on that. I would expect that we would have something going out late first quarter of this year, which, you know, late first quarter, early second quarter of this year. So I'll keep everyone apprised, and as things are developing, again, I'll keep everyone up to speed on that. So I don't really have much more to say about that, but we're going to be doing it this year. So that's very exciting. So thanks to the commission for understanding the importance of that, the importance of it, and funding it. Economic Vitality Committee, it's been kind of a slow time of the year. So, you know, holiday seasons and whatnot, but they are going to be having they had a networking session, which was very well attended. Thanks to Kate, who was a big part of that, a major part of that. So that went off smashingly. We had that at the hotel, phenomenal turnout, great conversation, good networking. You know, Mount Lebanon doesn't have a chamber of commerce. The South Hills Chamber of Commerce has dissolved. I don't know if anybody realizes that, but the chamber that sort of served this community doesn't exist anymore. So it's even more important now than ever that these types of things are going on. So that went off. We're going to do another one. I think we're going to try to do, Kate can chime in, but I think we're going to try to do at least 2 a year. Maybe one a season, I don't know. Depends on capacity again, but that went off and it was pretty well attended and everyone enjoyed it. My understanding is there was an organization called Town Center Associates that did a baseline survey of Uptown and Beverly Road, looking at occupancy and vibrancy indexes and various things. That was done 2 years ago, maybe early last year. My understanding is the partnership is going to be renewing a contract with those folks to do it again. I'm not certain where that is, but when I find out, I'll update everyone. Kate may know, I don't know.
We should have an update on that, I think, next week.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the partnership board meeting, the partnership board meets the week after we meet. So, yeah, in February, I'll know better, but, so that just gives the Vitality Committee some data and good baseline information to strategize with. So it's a good tool. I don't have much to say about the grants. I'm going to strike off this design guideline grant. That's done. But what I will say to that is the commission did approve, and again, thank you, commission, resources to kick off a facade micro grant program. So thank you very much for that. You know, part of this Vibrant Uptown thing was always, you know, we were going to set the table with that, but then we wanted to engage business owners and property owners to start enhancing their businesses. So I'm going to be framing out the guidelines for that, and all the application package. But in short, we have $20,000, excuse me, that we can allocate to Uptown businesses for, right now, I'm really focusing on it being a micro grant program. So $500 for signage, fresh coat of paint, new windows, various things to enhance the retail experience and the first floor experience for residents and pedestrians and shoppers and what have you. So I'm going to start working on that once I get some other things off my plate. But the commission did award some dollars. So we have resources now to begin helping our small business owners out, which is fantastic. It's been many years since we've had that. And we have a design guideline toolkit, which is phenomenal. So we're really ready to rock and roll there. Zoning, I already talked about that. I'm gonna have to retweak this agenda because this is, not gonna lie, I just carried over last November's agenda, so I better tweak this to more accurately reflect where we are today. Activate Uptown, I kind of already talked about that when we were going over the comp plan stuff, but so I don't have anything more to add to that. We should be getting under contract, I hope, mid to late March, and then kicking off in April, at the worst case scenario, early May. We do have a grant with that, but I reached out to DCD, and we have been awarded a grant extension. It was to sunset June 30th of this year. It'll now sunset June 30th of 25. So we have some breathing room. So we're not up, our backs aren't against the wall. So that extension has been granted, and again, looking to kick off Activate Uptown April or May. Commercial districts update. I met with so the PNC Bank building has been leased. That is going to be, you may have seen something in the magazine or on socials. It's going to be David Allen Clothier. Really interesting guy. Does custom tailored suits, but so much more. He can even do a custom sweatsuit, pantsuit combo. I mean, he does, everything's custom. So I'll just put it there. He's custom tailored clothing. He kind of got his start with professional wrestlers and professional sports folks. That's become a thing now. If you watch sports, they all like to walk down the tunnel in their fresh new threads. So that's kind of where he got his start. So some of his outfits are very zesty, but he also has more conservative, traditional clothing as well. So he's going to be taking over that space, and I don't want to give too much away, but it's pretty exciting. He's really looking to make, if you've been in a lot of the more, what I'll call hip or contemporary retail shops, it's really an interactive experience. It's not like walking into the Gap in 1988, you know, there's somebody folding sweaters and can I help you, ma'am or sir? It's very minimal design. There's going to be a podcast booth. He's going to be inviting celebrities. So while you're in there getting fitted, you know, there might be an athlete or a musician or someone else that's wearing his designs and product being interviewed. He's looking at DJs on Friday and Saturday nights. It's really, there's actually like a bar, not a bar where you'd order a Manhattan, but
Eric, I know he was excited about the parking in the rear, but have you talked him into a beer garden yet? Like, it should be European style, some very classy benches to you know, show off your wares out in person.
yeah, no, I haven't broached that with him yet, but let me just put it this way, and I don't want to speak for him. He has the lease and I don't own the property.
No, I know.
But he's very open to creative ideas, and he also is very interested in getting involved in the community. So I think he would be receptive to those types of suggestions. But again, I don't want to speak for him.
No, I need a new suit, so maybe I can parlay that into a.
He's a great guy. You know, his background is interesting. So he's definitely entrepreneurial, and entrepreneurs in many ways are their own sort of artists. So I think that'll be pretty interesting. So he's looking to open, he was hoping to open in April or May. That still may be able to happen, but it'll be happening imminently. And one thing I did broach with him with the parking lot was that the artist market in the fall sure likes to use it, and he seemed open to that continuing. So those of us on this call that work with the partnership make a mental note. But I think we'll still be able to use that lot. So, and I think he's open to that type of thing. That's what he wants. He understands that he has a full public lot in the back. So I think there's some opportunities there. And then I'll also add that the saloon has expressed some interest in being able to do various things. So I think there could be some interesting partnerships there. That's why I'm excited about it. It's not just and no disrespect to the Gap or J. Crew, but it's not that kind of standard retail concept that he's proposing. We posted some information on it. It seemed the barometer reading on it, I think, was strong. You know, people were very excited for it. And we'll see how it does, but, people keep saying they want retail. We're bringing retail. We're coming in hot. So, you know, buy a suit. On a completely different, it's not even a business district, but there's a small island of commercial way off by Howe, on Broadmoor. And, Wonderful is open for business. They opened in December. If you haven't checked them out, please do. If you're on your computer now or after the meeting, type in Wonderfill, like wonderful, but it's fill, like you fill a jug, because they sell they sell bulk. So soaps, I mentioned this in previous meetings, but they're now open. They have an active website. You can purchase things ahead of time and pick it up. I think they even might have a delivery service. Don't quote me on that. But they are open. They're at 370 Broadmoor. If you go by Howe, there's little tiny little section of commercial. That's where they are. So please check that out. And I get a lot of questions about the former Bados. There's not a whole lot that I can share. But what I can say is that we have issued a demo permit for the interior, not the building. So they're looking to update and modernize the interior of that building. So that's been issued. I wouldn't expect to see anything there for, you know, a number of months. I mean, there's still a lot of things that are being vetted and discussed and played out, but you know, that's moving forward. So while yes, it's vacant, it's not vacant. Excuse me. And then the West Banco also has couple of concepts churning there that I probably am not at liberty to discuss publicly, but there's some activity, excuse me, on that corner. Those are some of the big highlights. I should also mention that Vintage Remains opened up over the holidays since we met. That's the complement to Vinyl Remains, the record shop. So Greg Anderson is the owner, the proprietor of that business. So he's not just into wax, he also has a whole warehouse of vintage. When I say vintage, I guess furniture and things from the era when I was born. So, you know, late 60s, early 70s, mid 70s. So retro type stuff. If you haven't been in there, please do. You may you'd be surprised what you might walk out with. He has everything from, you know, home furnishings to interesting signage from taverns from the 40s. I mean, there's all kinds of interesting things in there. So it's like a curated antique shop, I suppose. So that's open since we've last met. Trying to think if there's anything else. I don't know, does anybody have any questions about any of the stuff I've been going over? That sounds like no.
No.
Okay, well, if there's no further questions or points of order, I guess we can have a motion to adjourn. I think I'm able to request that. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion, Eric.
Thanks, Seth. Second?
I can second that.
Moved.
I think that was Kate.
Yep.
Thank you. Okay, hey, thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time. Expect a document very shortly from me, kind of summarizing some of the key points. I'm not gonna be candid with you. You're not gonna see that probably till Monday or Tuesday. So if you have any additional thoughts over the weekend, hit me up. You know my digits and you know my email.
Thanks, Eric. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for all the information, Eric. It was great.
Have a great weekend.
You too.